Back in 2015, Aaron had just moved to a small apartment in Tacoma, Washington after finishing college. He was broke and needed furniture, so like a lot of people, he turned to Craigslist. He found a listing that seemed perfect. It was a large, L-shaped sectional couch listed for free. The owner claimed they were moving and just wanted it gone. The photos showed a dark gray sofa, worn but not torn. There was no catch, no fee, just free pickup. Aaron messaged the seller. The reply came quickly. A man named Rick told him to come by after 8 p.m. because he worked odd hours. That was a little late, but Aaron didn't question it. Free furniture was hard to come by. Rick's house was about a 30-minute drive outside the city in a sparsely populated area. When Aaron arrived, he saw that the house was set back off the road, mostly hidden by trees. There was only a single porch light on, and he typed, "No answer." After a minute, the door opened slowly. A man in his late 40s stood there, tall, wiry, with dark bags under his eyes. He didn't say hello, just stepped aside and nodded. Aaron stepped in and immediately felt uncomfortable. The house was messy, cluttered, and smelled of mildew. There were old newspapers stacked on every surface, and a strange buzzing noise came from one of the back rooms. Rick led him to the couch. It looked just like the pictures, though it was crammed awkwardly against a wall. Aaron started helping him move the cushions, preparing to disassemble it for the ride home. As they were lifting one of the sections, something slid out from underneath. It was a small, red-stained towel. Rick quickly snatched it up and mumbled something about a nosebleed. Aaron nodded, but started feeling uneasy. That's when he noticed the locks. There were 5 deadbolts on the inside of the front door, and along the hallway were motion sensors. Too many for a normal home, okay? He glanced into the dark hallway and saw what looked like a large cage. It wasn't a dog crate. It was tall, metal, and built into the wall. Aaron froze. Rick followed his gaze and said it used to be for his exotic pets, but there was no sign of pets. No hair, no food bowls, no smell. Aaron made up an excuse, said he forgot his tie-down straps in the car and would be right back. He never went back inside. He jumped in his car and drove off without saying a word. That night, out of curiosity, Aaron reverse searched the address on Google. Nothing came up, but when he posted about the encounter in a local forum, someone messaged him privately. They claimed they'd seen a different listing from that address 2 months earlier. It was also for free furniture, a washer and dryer. They said the guy seemed strange and that when they showed up, there was a woman inside who looked like she hadn't slept in days. Aaron called the police anonymously, just in case. He never found out what happened. But the listing disappeared the next morning, and the account Rick used was deleted. Carmen was a freelance photographer in Portland. She occasionally took odd jobs off Craigslist when money was tight. One day, she saw a listing that offered $500 for a half-day photo shoot. The client wanted candid-style photos in a rural, wooded area for what they described as a personal project. Carmen messaged the poster. The reply was polite, signed by a woman named Leela. She asked Carmen to bring a basic DSLR camera, some lighting gear, and said she would be photographing another woman, a model already hired for the shoot. They arranged to meet at a trailhead in the forest, about 45 minutes outside the city. Carmen drove there on a chilly Sunday morning. When she arrived, a silver SUV was already waiting. Out stepped a man, not a woman. He was tall, clean-cut, maybe in his early 50s, wearing all black. Carmen was confused. He introduced himself as Leela's assistant, said Lila had a family emergency, and asked him to fill in. The man directed Carmen toward a trail leading deeper into the woods. He said the model and setup were just a short walk in. Carmen hesitated, but followed. She kept checking over her shoulder as they walked. The trail twisted through thick trees, and soon the parking lot was out of sight. After about 10 minutes, they reached a small clearing. There was no model, no props, just a blue tarp on the ground with a folded chair and a few random boxes. She asked where the model was. The man smiled and said she would arrive shortly. In the meantime, he wanted to test the lighting. Carmen unpacked her gear and started setting up reluctantly. But something felt wrong. She asked again who the model was and what exactly this project was about. He paused, then asked her to take some test photos of him. That was the final red flag. She told him she wasn't comfortable, began packing up her equipment. The man's tone shifted. He told her she was already paid to be there and should finish what she started. Carmen had never been paid. There was no deposit. She grabbed her bag and began walking away quickly. He didn't follow immediately, but a few seconds later, she heard him shouting something behind her. Not words, just sounds. She started running. As she got closer to the trailhead, she pulled out her phone and called 911, pretending someone was already on the line. The man never made it out of the woods. By the time she reached the road, the SUV was gone. She gave police the Craigslist emails and the trail location. The email was a burner, and the vehicle was never found. Carmen stopped taking Craigslist jobs after that. In 2020, during the pandemic, Jason was looking for a place to live near his job in eastern Pennsylvania. Most apartments were expensive and options were limited. He found a Craigslist listing for a roommate in a 3-bedroom house. Rent was low, almost suspiciously low, but the photos looked clean and well kept. The owner, a man named Todd, said he traveled often and needed someone to keep the house occupied. Jason met Todd at the house for a walkthrough. The man was friendly, probably in his late 30s, well-groomed and polite. He showed Jason the room, the kitchen, and the yard. Everything looked great. Jason moved in the following weekend. The first night, everything was normal. Todd said he would be gone most weekdays for business, and Jason would often have the place to himself. But starting on the third night, strange things started happening. Jason would hear noises in the house late at night. Not just creaks or old house settling footsteps, heavy, deliberate, pacing upstairs in the hallway. But Todd was supposedly out of town. He texted him. No reply. The next morning, Jason found the hallway closet door open. Inside was a dusty, old-looking camera on a tripod, pointed directly at the hallway. He asked Todd about it when he returned later that week. Todd said it was for a film project and asked Jason not to touch it. He said he often recorded footage when he was gone. Jason agreed, but his instincts told him something wasn't right. That night, he unplugged the camera. The next morning, it was reconnected. Not only that, but a second camera had been installed near the living room. Jason confronted Todd. The man stayed calm, said he was just recording for a horror short film and that it wasn't aimed at him. Jason wasn't convinced. That night, he stayed up with the lights off, pretending to be asleep. Around 2 a.m., he heard the front door unlock. Footsteps crept through the living room. Someone was inside the house. Jason peeked from his bedroom door and saw Todd standing in the hallway, completely still. He wasn't holding anything, watching the hallway, not moving. Jason quietly closed the door and locked it. He stayed up until dawn. That morning, he packed and left without saying a word. A few days later, he searched Todd's full name online. What he found terrified him. Todd had a record. In 2011, he had been arrested for unlawful surveillance and trespassing. Charges were dropped, but his name showed up in multiple forums where people complained about a man who would secretly film roommates and Airbnb guests. Jason reported the incident to the police. When they went to investigate, the house was empty. Todd was gone. The Craigslist listing was deleted the next day.